Well, here we have it at last, the Swift Stereo Deluxe in more or less working order. Now, you'll spot one big change immediately, and that's that when it came, it had a rather naff piece of felt on the turntable. And I had a turntable back from a Crabophone, which I scrapped some while ago, and cut it down to suit, because this is a smaller size turntable than you'd usually find. The tone arm I've had to straighten using a dead straight piece of carved steel rod that just happened to be a dead fit inside this part. This was the part that was bent. The armrest was also damaged, so a little tiny piece of plastic card, carefully sculpted to fit and glued to it, has cured that, and we now have an armrest with a nice positive action. Oh dear, oh dear. Now I'm fairly sure that this set is made, well, not for the English market certainly, because if you look here, tone control is marked TON, and then you've got volume is loudsed there, and strangely enough balance is the same as it is in English. Now there's one of these for sale on eBay, or there was the other week, that was all white plastic and moulded. Must have been a lot easier to make than this. The unit itself, would have been no harder or easier to make than this one, but the speakers would be, because they're made out of plywood underneath it all. There's leatherette stuff, and then a little ribbing strip there, and then the front again is plywood covered in what looks like a printed finished paper almost. But they do give a decent sound. One speaker clips on underneath and the other on top, using these very chunky clips that turn around 90 degrees, and they fit into those little holes, one each side of the speaker. The driver itself, well, it's quite a big old thing. It's an inside-out speaker, in other words, the magnets at the front, driving backwards, if you will, and round about 6 inches, I suppose. Nice hammer finish on it. They're held in by tiny little nuts, just like the speakers might be on something really big and posh. But the cable's interesting too, because they've used the same cable for the speakers as they do for the maids. I suppose at this rating it doesn't matter. And it's nice cable, actually, I have to say. Very, very basic. Inside the cabinet on this, there is a hole here for a 5-pin DIN plug, but that's not fitted to this. On the back you've just got your two-pin DIN plugs for the speaker, and intriguingly also under here is another 2-pin DIN plug moulding, so perhaps this was made as a mono as well and had the speaker and the lid, and you just shut it up like that. Now, among all this strange homespun looking technology in here is a BSR idler wheel under there, and there's a big old shaded pole motor doing the spinning the vinyl, and a separate transformer to run the amplifier, which is certainly better than what BSR used to do sometimes, and try and use the motor as a sort of a transformer by having a winding on it. And it wasn't always quite sufficiently full of oomph to run the thing properly, shall I say. There's the other matching speaker over there. But the way this thing had been treated, it was terrible. It was absolutely filthy, for one thing, and with the speakers forming the lid and the base, it seems odd. You wonder how some people live, don't you? Perhaps you don't wonder too closely, though. Another strange thing is the stylus itself. Now this can take the same sort of stylus, the little tiny sliver of copper type that you find in those old cartridges on the BSR decks called Monarchs, which had a flip over cartridge, and when you played a 78 you turned the whole thing upside down in order to do that. So that's another oddity. Unless, of course, somebody's found that that's the only thing that would fit it over here. Anyway, so we'll see what the whole thing sounds like. The tracking force can be adjusted on this by the simple expedient of undoing this screw back here and then sliding that little horseshoe shaped thing behind it up and down. The cutout was a problem too at first. It was cutting out far too early, and I've had to adjust the mechanism by the simple expedient of bending a piece of metal inside it. That's the only thing you can do. There is no proper, well, what you'd call proper adjustment, shall I say. Start it like a Phillips, pulling that towards the right gently till it clicks and comes on, and then away we go. Well, as you can hear, not a bad sound for what it is. The amplifier is a germanium transistor affair, and the components look very old-fashioned, especially when it's got one of those little blobs to do the bridge rectifier. So I should say this is definitely one of those old Eastern Bloc products. But well, it still seems to go all right. Well, it goes all right after a bit of TLC. Heaven knows how many there are in attics in the former Eastern Bloc countries, or maybe still in use. You never know, do you? Still spinning vinyl. You never know. You see the cutout works again now. Oh dear. So, which it didn't do before. Now, some things have come to light quite interesting about the old Eastern Bloc. We all know, of course, that for some years, many years in fact, after Grundig stopped making them, Unitra were turning out radio cassettes or radio recorders with the old Grundig tape drive in them. And I think the last were done in the late 80s, as a matter of fact. But something else has come to light as well. This from Daniil158, who lives out in Estonia. What is now Estonia? He says that during the Soviet period, believe it or not, the humble Hoover twin-tub washing machine was manufactured in the Soviet Union as a Siberia. They were badged as a Siberia. And he sent me a video too. I can't send you the link because I don't understand Russian, I'm afraid, but it was amazing to see it. Obviously a clone, but I remember somebody telling me about electric locomotives in Poland that looked like our old Class 83 ACs did on the main line out at London Euston. And they weren't clones, they were built by English Electric and sent over there. But they've recently painted one in the old electric blue paint scheme that we had here in Britain back in the early 60s. And it does look the part, I have to say. Anyway, there's something else that Daniil's got. He was looking in his granddad's shed and in Estonia, and he found a Hoover 119. How odd is that? You can only think that because his granddad was in the Merchant Navy, that perhaps he bought it while over here one day. Oh well, interesting stuff. See you again soon.